spicy conspiracy theory for you today.
Will you allow me one conspiracy theory?
Terrifying things said in space. Yeah, they're not telling us everything. What the heck is going on here?
Wait. People are saying the moon landing might not be real? What's good, everybody? Thanks for watching Samacabra. Alright, we're watching the craziest moon landing and space conspiracies on the internet. And I'm not gonna lie, some of these are messing with my head. Why does this clip look so off?
Christina, Jeremy, we're going to the moon.
Are we being lied to?
Okay, I have a spicy conspiracy theory for you today. I'm
Spicy.
just going to start out by saying it's a lot easier to control the masses and control the narrative around something through emotional manipulation. So you'll notice if something is considered a tragedy, it's like totally taboo to ask questions about it. Case closed, that's it. So if there's people in the comments that have a problem with this or calling me insensitive for talking about this, that's fine, because if it's true, that's the desired outcome. Anyways, this is the crew of the 1986 Challenger space shuttle mission. Infamously, on January 28th, 1986, the space shuttle exploded right after takeoff. The disaster was broadcast on live television to 40 million viewers.
Yeah.
Two men, Bob Eberling and Roger Boisjolly, worked tirelessly to warn NASA about an issue with the shuttle's O-rings, making calls and warning anyone that would listen going all the way back to October the prior year. They warned that if these O-rings were used on a launch on a day that was below 40 degrees Fahrenheit, that there would be a catastrophe. But of course, no one listened, which automatically kind of makes me think they wanted the catastrophe to happen. Roughly 80 seconds after the launch, the shuttle exploded and all 7 crew members lost their lives. This is Judy Resnick, an engineer and pilot aboard the Challenger mission. In 2013, an eagle-eyed internet user found Judith Resnick, a law professor at Harvard Law School. Some people were a little taken aback by the identical name, age, and likeness, so they started digging. This is Michael J. Smith, also an engineer and pilot aboard the Challenger shuttle, who passed away that fateful day in 1986 at the age of 39 years old. This is Dr. Michael J. Smith, professor of engineering at the University of Wisconsin. This is Sharon Krista McAuliffe, arguably one of the most famous things about the Challenger mission. She was supposedly just a teacher that was picked at random to be one of the astronauts, which made it all the more tragic when she passed away due to the Challenger
How do you just get picked at random to be an astronaut?
disaster in 1986. This is Sharon A. McAuliffe, also a law professor who received her degree shortly after the Challenger disaster. Dick Scobie was the commander of the mission. Here's Commander Dick Scobie next to Richard Scobie, the CEO of Cows and Trees. Here's his company's original logo. It's a cow, but it's not in a tree. It's strapped to a rocket, and gee, that jet stream kind of looks familiar. In fact, just in case I wasn't making it clear, the top picture is the Challenger ship shortly after exploding. So, you know.
Weird.
Astronauts Ronald McNair and Ellison Onizuka both passed away when the Challenger shuttle exploded. Miraculously, it was found out that they both had twin brothers, Carl McNair and Claude Onizuka. But ancestry searches were done for both Carl and Claude, and there was no birth records found. And the odds of 2 sets of identical twins in a crew of 7 are astronomical. But that's just a theory. Rest in peace to the crew of the Challenger space shuttle mission.
Yeah, RIP. I mean, huh?
Will you allow me one conspiracy theory?
You get one.
You ready? Okay.
Yeah.
We had people who wanted to go back in space, but we needed an adversary. And we knew at the rate China's economy was growing, that if we don't invite them on the space station, they'll build their own damn space program. That's exactly what they did. And within years of that, 10 years of that, they sent their first taikonaut into orbit, plans to build a space station, they're landing craft around the solar system, and now they're talking about sending astronauts to the moon. All of a sudden, here in the United States, we say, I think we should go back to the moon.
Yeah, we should go
Bada
back.
bing! We now have the Artemis program.
Immediately.
That's my conspiracy theory. Will you allow me one?
Terrifying things said in space. Yeah, they're not telling us everything. Most people believe that Neil Armstrong's first words when he supposedly landed on the moon were,
It's one small step for man,
One giant leap.
giant leap for mankind.
but NASA claims to have lost transmission for roughly 2 minutes before that. And in those 2 minutes, Neil Armstrong supposedly said something pretty disturbing.
These babies are huge, sir. Enormous. Oh
Huge.
God, you wouldn't believe it. I'm telling you, there are other spacecrafts out there, lined up on the far side of the crater's edge. They're on the moon. watching us.
Neil himself never spoke of this again, but many sources have confirmed that these were his words. In 1994, NASA astronaut,
Well,
doctor, and mathematician
If it cut, how would anybody know that? If it cut, right? So the feed cut. He would have been talking to himself. Or maybe, so maybe did he come back and say that? Like, oh, actually my first words
Story Musgrave said
were that these babies are huge.
something very strange. While on 2 separate space flights, Musgrave claimed to have seen what he called space snakes. He claims these snakes he saw were roughly 6 to 8 feet in length. While on a spacewalk, he said the snake followed him for a pretty significant amount of time, and that he even tried to communicate with it. One of the most haunting things
Snakes
ever
in
said in
space.
space was in 1967 by Russian cosmonaut Vladimir Komarov. The space shuttle they sent him up in was not ready, but the Soviet Union said he had no choice. A few moments after his space shuttle, the Soyuz 1, entered space, it started to malfunction, and his last transmission was very chilling. Picked up by a US listening post, he was supposedly crying and screaming in anger. His final words were, "The heat in my capsule is rising. You've killed me." Terrifying things said in space. Yeah, they're not. What the heck is going on here? Oh, other than this astronaut very oddly using this tool. Looks like me trying to look busy when the boss is about to walk by. Steve, America and their $3 billion are watching. Look busy. So have you seen this video of this supposed spacewalk from the ISS? Notice anything specifically strange about it? Why are we hearing sound? So, as many are aware, there is no sound in space because space is mostly a vacuum lacking the air molecules required for sound waves to travel, making it silent to the human ear. So then why are we hearing what sounds like ambient sounds coming from the ISS spacewalk? Now, what it wants us to believe is that what we're actually hearing is conducted vibrations from within the spacesuit or space station structure. But the AI response also admitted that yes, audio is frequently added or enhanced in post-production for NASA's videos. And as many of you know from my previous videos, NASA appears to use post-production a lot in its videos, as it also admitted here, saying that yes, NASA uses computer-generated imagery, or CGI. So obviously, yes, NASA's going to doctor up videos a bit before releasing them. But again, as shown in many of my previous videos, why do they require...
Why, though? Why do they have to CGI and doctor up videos? Why can't they just do like a live feed of the Artemis going around the moon? Like, why does it have to be these like doctored up videos and, you know, photoshopped pictures? Like, why not just show us
a green screen when shown to be on the space station? And why would they need to add sound to a space shown to be on the space station?
Why is there a green screen on the space
And
station?
why would they need to add sound to a spacewalk? What the heck is going on here?
Look, I'll be honest. I don't even really want to do this video because at this point, if you still think this thing's going to the moon, I think you have a learning disability. And I'm not trying to be rude. I'm really not, because it was so censored at one point. It was so censored and you couldn't find good information, but it's littered over the internet now. You can find really good information telling you that there's a firmament and that the Earth is flat and stationary. It can't go anywhere. That's why it's flying horizontally, my friends. You might want to get tested for a learning disability. Not to mention a learning disability, but you have zero awareness of being mocked. They're literally mocking you. These are the names of the astronauts. Reed Wiseman, Christine A. Cock, Christ in a Cock, Victor Glover, and well, Jay Rammy. And I actually wonder if they're giving a little nod to me there. A nod to the guy that is exposing all of their lies every day, all of the time.
What's this guy's name?
Butt chin there. Yeah, sure, these are all their names, and there's no mockery going on because they love their phallic symbols and mockery, and it's always right in your face. Right in your face. But why would they lie? Look, I'll be honest.
You know the one thing about flat Earth?
You're losing
that
me.
tripped me out? Google images of satellites. Just like type in satellite. Just all.
There's no real pictures?
Not a single one is not. This is the one thing that tripped me out, I'm not gonna lie. They're all just like renders.
Why?
Why?
Why you think?
Exactly. Why? Why not just have the picture? Why not just take a picture and be like, hey, this is a legit picture, no Photoshop, no filter.
This is the one, I'm gonna say, this is the one thing that trips me out. I've never seen a satellite that was real. just saying. I'm not a flat earther. I'm just saying.
Yeah, that is very strange now that you bring that up.
I know people that worked at SpaceX and they made satellites though. So
Why would they want to sell us on Earth being round?
That's not the only thing they're selling you on. They're selling you on space as well. That's why you're thinking like that, because you're thinking outer space and all those other planets and stuff
real?
like that. Yeah. Huh?
You don't think they're real? You don't think sun's real?
No. Sun is real. The sun and the moon is real.
Okay.
But outer space is not.
Well, then what is it? What are we
It's
doing?
water. Over the firmament is water.
Over the firmament, he's talking.
We're in the ocean right now?
We under the firmament, under the dome, and it's water over
in the middle.
Firmament. Says it in the Bible. Planets are wandering stars that you think about.
So you think all that, like them going to Mars stuff is all...
How they going to the Mars? Why they don't put the same rover on the moon so we can watch the Earth spin right now? How they gonna go to Mars?
They're talking about building a society on Mars, right?
Yeah. Why they doing that? Why they ain't got the same thing on the moon right now though?
The whole thing is like we never went back to the moon, right?
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah, I know.
Why people care if people believe in the Earth the way the Bible describes it? Why do people get so mad about that?
Does the Bible describe it as flat?
Yeah.
It does?
With the dome, the firmament, and everything. Why do people get mad at people if they just describe the Earth the way the oldest history book describes it?
Yeah. So does this mean you think it's flat?
Yeah.
You do?
Yeah.
What would be the point of covering up? Like, let's just pretend the Earth is flat, and that NASA and the government wants us to believe that it's round. We're just pretending, right? We're just making that argument for this side. Why would NASA and the government want you to believe that it's round though? Like, why can't it just be flat? Or why can't it just be round?
Warning, the Artemis mission astronauts may be a hoax. Yeah, sounds crazy,
Yeah.
right? Because every time you watch a rocket take off, you imagine the crew sitting right on top of that explosion, seconds away from either history or disaster. But here's where things get interesting. In some missions, safety protocols are so extreme that evacuation systems are always on standby, and in certain scenarios, astronauts can be pulled away from danger in seconds.
Yeah, I saw that.
We're talking about
that is
high-speed
weird.
escape systems, emergency towers, and procedures designed for one thing only: survival. Now, imagine this. A launch countdown begins. Everything looks normal, cameras are rolling, millions are watching, but behind the scenes, there's always a plan B. Because space agencies don't gamble with human life. So the real question is, if something goes wrong at the last second, are astronauts really staying on that rocket? Or could they already be on their way out before you even notice? Think about that.
Think about
And next
that.
time you watch a launch, ask yourself, what are we not being shown? Drop your thoughts in the comments.
Y'all wanted the truth? Y'all wanted to know how does the sun only shine further in some areas than others? But can y'all handle the truth though? Look at the sun up there. Look at this.
Yes, we can.
Look at this right over here. Doesn't that make more sense? Doesn't that
With
make
it
more
tilts?
sense? Look at the shape of the earth as well too. Look at the shape of the earth. It's all in our faces, bro. Look at that. That's a globe on the inside, but look at the shape of this earth. The little snow globe thing. Look at
Snow
that,
globe.
bro. Look, for you guys who are asking about the moon is a reflection of the earth. It is a plasma projection up there, bro. Y'all have no idea.
Okay,
If an
you're
alien
losing me,
landed
you're losing
right
me.
in front of us
Bring it
and
back,
said
bring
to
it back.
you, take me to your leader, are you going to take him to the White House? No, of course not. Are you going to take him to Congress? No.
That's a great question.
That's my point. I happen.
Where are you going to take him? Before we hear Theo Vaughn and Neil deGrasse Tyson out, where would if Martian comes down and says, take me to your leader? I should be a voice actor, by the way. Where do you take him? Your cat? Your dog? Your boss?
to be a scientist, but if I were not a scientist, I would take him to a scientist.
You would?
Yes, a biologist or a physicist.
So he's here. What do you do?
What I'm saying is that I have a periodic table of elements that are elements across the universe. I know mathematics and laws of physics that apply across the universe. They got here from across the universe.
So those laws would be totally the same on their planet?
Totally the same. So if you're going to start with a language, like, oh, this is a cup and this is a fork and this is, it's like, this is our elements and this is, we call this aluminum, we call this, and they will know, and they start to develop a common vocabulary so that you can communicate with them. Because they're not going to speak English, nor French, nor Mandarin, none of the above. That being said, if they send radio signals here, the largest radio telescope is going to pick it up first. And you know where that is?
Hold on, let me think. Arizona.
Argentina.
It was once on American soil in Puerto Rico, the Arecibo telescope, but that collapsed out of disuse. And the largest radio telescope in the world is in China.
China.
If an alien landed right in front.
The moon landing is fake, and I can prove
Probably
it. First
not.
piece of
Prove it.
evidence speaks for itself. I'm not even going to comment on it. This is Apollo 11 taking off of the moon.
On ignition. Right away, Houston. Right.
I will say, where'd they get the footage? Aren't they leaving?
You're good.
That is incorrect. That is actually Apollo 17 because that is from the 6th time we landed humans on the moon. We've been 6 times. You got to remember that there's way less gravity on the moon. It doesn't take a lot to take off. They did it with a single engine, and that looked good to me. I don't know what's weird about that.
Next up, we have NASA admitting that they lost the original footage to the moon landing, so there's no way to see it if it's real or not. The
never heard
most
that.
important recording in all of history got lost.
So, no. The data on those tapes was transmitted to the Johnson Space Center, so it was recorded there and in other places. There is no missing footage from the Apollo 11 moonwalk. None. Also, people watched it live. There was a ton of footage, a ton of recordings all over. Years later, some of the original tapes, which would have provided 0 extra footage, were taped over. That was a huge mistake, but ultimately would have maybe provided a little bit better quality, but not much else. But in the search for them, NASA found even higher quality tapes, which they then released. So when you say that there's no way to tell if those are real or not, I don't believe those tapes would change your mind.
And there's the argument, why have we not been back to the moon? To that, all the naysayers
There's nothing there.
say, oh, well, it just costs so much money and we just have different political focuses now. No, no, no. NASA themselves have admitted that they cannot get back to the moon. Look it up. Well, why can't they get back to the moon? Oh, because guess what? They didn't just lose the original footage of the moon. They also lost all the information about how they got to the moon. I quote verbatim, we no longer have the technology, end quote.
No longer having the technology is not the same thing as no longer having the information. The vintage factories that created that vintage technology don't exist anymore. We lost the technology in the same way we lost the technology to make this or this. We don't have the technology or the...
Okay, well, that's a stretch because we definitely have the technology to make those. We're just more advanced. So that's a bizarre way to phrase it. I'm going to have to side with the crazy girl on this one.
factories to create the first cars and planes either. Because we have better technology now. We didn't lose the information. We're building upon it. We could make the old school spacecraft, but that would be really weird.
Exactly. So I don't like the term, we don't have the technology anymore.
Instead of progressing. Also worth noting that humans are orbiting the moon next month. So we are going back and we do have the technology.
If you have even 2 brain cells, no matter
Exactly. So why say we don't have the technology? And why defend that?
how teeny tiny, I think that you can piece together, it makes no sense that technology has gone forward and that's the only thing that's gone backward.
Kind of mean, but we have gone forward. Original spacecraft, new spacecraft. Original vintage mission control, new shiny mission control. Genuinely, all of the technology is better now.
We're lucky if you could make a phone call to a neighboring state. If you use a 3rd brain cell, you can even see how wild it is that they called from the moon with no static and no delay. This is just the tip of the iceberg, and I'm so passionate about this.
There was absolutely a delay. You can watch the video. It's on YouTube. The delay is over a second. It makes the conversation awkward. But it is completely wild that they were able to transmit a call from DC to Houston to the moon. And they were able to do that because the engineers are brilliant.
I mean, look at that
and
satellite.
they had
That thing's
really big
massive.
antennas. Moon landings were super real, and we're going back.
The moon landing is...
Let's do it again.
You can see the eye and how it's forming. But one of the things that's interesting...
Did NASA astronaut drop the ball and expose NASA's fake International
about
Space
up
Station?
here, when you see that whole hurricane, you're pretty amazed and you start taking pictures and all of that of it, but then you forget that there are people in danger down on Earth with the hurricanes and all that. So sometimes it's easy to lose perspective.
When you see that whole hurricane, you're pretty amazed and you start taking pictures.
At first, I was gonna say, oh, he just let it go, or it got out of his grasp or his grip, but he does seem to drop it. And again, you're in space, so it would be floating up and down.
But then you forget that there are people endangered down on Earth with the hurricanes and all that. So
You can see.
I don't know about that one.
NASA's ever
To be honest.
Sound suppression water is flowing.
Could have been faked. Artemis 2 launch gone wrong. You can't convince me this was real.
9, 8.
It's going off.
RS-25 in.
There it goes.
4, 3, 2, 1. Booster ignition.
Why does it look like AI though?
The crew of Artemis 2 now bound for the moon. Humanity's next great voyage begins.
What is happening? What the hell?
What do you mean? Why do I hear a horse?
Did you
That's
guys
the
see
real
that?
question.
Something's fishy about this.
Houston now controlling the flight of integrity on the Artemis 2 mission around the moon.
Right? Somebody messed up.
What do you mean?
They just showed it in space, right?
Integrity passes the ultimate eco.
What was
Target
that?
milestone. Mission control Houston said good.
I think it was just a black screen, I thought.
Space launch system core stage. Integrity 3 miles and now
I had the best week
traveling more than 1,200 miles per hour.
and I didn't hit
Did that look weird to you? Look. What is this? What is this? Do you see what I'm saying?
different.
Humanity.
I think that they might be switching to like thermo cameras.
Do you still see stars in outer space?
Yeah,
Artemis
I was
2
actually
crew
just
explains
talking to my
Uniview why
crewmates
it
about
could be
that
hard to see
today.
stars.
I've definitely seen stars in outer space, and I was saying I haven't seen as many as I thought I would. So, Reed? We have so much illumination from the sun on the moon and the earth right now. It is hard at times to see stars. Just like when you walk out in the daytime, you see a blue sky but no stars. We look outside and we see the black space and no stars. But tonight we're going to be pointed
Blackface?
into deep space, and we're going to turn out all the lights in the spacecraft for the first time on the mission. And if you give yourself about 20 or 30 minutes, we do this all the time on the International Space Station. Christina and I just have great fond memories of this. You'll start to see the stars, and if you give it enough time, you will see so many stars. It's hard to see the constellations because there are so many stars out there. And the coolest part of those stars is they do not twinkle at all. They are just perfect. They almost look they're just perfect
Why don't they
pinpricks
twinkle?
of light. So that is our homework for tonight, Jeremy. We are doing that. We'll take a picture.
Listen, you know the best way we could end this flat Earth versus globe debate?
By picking up a book or even using Google. And I know this isn't really my wheelhouse, but so many different people have asked me to cover moon landing stuff that I guess I finally will, talking about the nonsense she's spreading. Let's see what she has to say.
Let's just all go to Antarctica. Oh wait, you can't. Or at least not freely.
You can, and a bunch of flat earthers were even taken to Antarctica. You cannot explore anywhere truly freely. Also, part of the reason that, you can't go anywhere you want is because it has a very fragile ecosystem, and, even small things can have large consequences in, the environment of even the world.
Don't say
And somehow almost every country agreed to that. No wars, no fighting over land.
That is
but
weird.
They all have bases there.
First of all, when it initially came out, 12 countries agreed to it, and since then, only about a quarter of all countries around the world have agreed to it. And some of the main parts of the Atlantic Treaty is the fact that people didn't have to fight over land. They wanted to make it a peaceful place for research.
Now the moon landing. You're telling me we went to the moon in 1969 when TVs were still black and white and people were still using rotary phones?
They did have color TVs by then, but it doesn't really matter. Color television is irrelevant to developing rockets. You don't have to have one to have the other.
And I heard we had the technology, but we lost it. How do you lose technology like that?
I'm always confused as to what they mean by this, because they say that we lost the technology.
Yeah, we were
didn't
just
lose,
talking about this.
The technological ability to do it. We just stopped making the technology to do so, because why would we keep doing it? As well as the fact that a lot of the things that they had, like the computers they had, became obsolete as newer ones came around.
And the cameras. People say the moon gets negative 260 degrees. So how are they working so perfectly?
Well, first of all, when they went to the moon, especially initially, it was not negative 260 degrees. It was very warm because they were in the sun. And second of all, heat transfer, or just being really cold, does not work in the same way it does on Earth as it does on the moon, which is a vacuum. If you were to be in a spacesuit on the moon and you were to take that spacesuit off, you would not freeze instantly. Like, you don't transfer heat the same way. There's no way for, like, nowhere for it to go. The only way that you would lose it is through radiation.
And then the flag. I've seen the clips. It looks like it's moving. No wind, no atmosphere. So what is that?
They moved it. They were applying a force to the flag that caused it to move.
This one doesn't make sense to me because it's like, it's a flag. It's a cloth. You know, of course it would move.
Beautiful, just beautiful.
Yeah, this doesn't. It's cloth.
If you go back and watch the original footage,
it's staying up straight more than I think it would be, I guess. But I mean, if it was on Earth, it would be falling down more.
Pretty much everywhere else in the video where, like, they don't touch the flag, it does not move.
Yeah. Exactly. That's pretty good. I'll give him that.
Debunking idiotic space denial videos.
Look.
Let's debunk.
Yup. That is exactly what you think it is. A zip line taking the astronauts off of the rocket.
Yep.
No, that's the complete opposite of what's happening. The basket in the video is the Artemis emergency egress system. Basically, if there was a launch pad emergency, the astronauts and other personnel will use it to leave the launch pad and be attended to by emergency response crew once.
That's good.
Will you put your left hand on the Bible and swear to God that you walked on the moon?
Gentlemen. Mr. Seibel.
Yes? If you really walked on the moon, why would you not do that? So why don't you just put the into the record in the argument and put your hand on the Bible, swear to God you walked on the moon.
Swear to God.
Mr. Seibel, knowing you, that's probably a fake Bible.
Really? Well, no, it's the real Bible. You have the opportunity to have $5,000.
If they had a King James.
Victor, Christina, Jeremy, we're going to the moon. When we get off the planet, we might come right back home. We might spend 3 or 4 days around Earth. We might go to the moon. That's where we want to go, but it is a test mission.
The 45 minutes that we're closest to the lunar surface are also going to be out of contact. We are going to have an LOS in NASA terms, a loss of signal.
I mean, technically, this is the first time we went around the moon, right? No. I mean, we've been to the moon. At least they say we've been to the moon. But have we done circles around the moon before? First time.
And while we cannot talk to the planet,
legit,
and our friends that are even in space on the International Space Station,
they're like I believe, and this is
NASA's
after I did an episode on this, which people should watch about the origins of NASA. Satanic, literal satanic. Okay, so you can't sit here and ignore the fact that literal Satanists, and I believe that it was this group of people. They established NASA. They were saying satanic chants every time they were lighting a rocket in the desert over here in California, in Pasadena, or actually Devil's Canyon. And they were open about the fact that they were having demonic sexual rituals, believe that they had summoned demons. This is not a conspiracy. This is on Wikipedia too. Look it up. Look up Jack Parsons and what he contributed to NASA. So, go watch my episode on the satanic origins of NASA. It's not a conspiracy. Openly, Jack Parsons was considered the protege of Aleister Crowley. These were literal Satanists, right? They believed they had summoned demons. He was trying to get a woman who was a virgin pregnant via satanic rituals that were happening out here in California. He wrote to Aleister Crowley that he was going to produce a moon child, as he called it. This is on Wikipedia. I'm not like Reddit threading you guys here. You can look this up, Jack Parsons. And he was openly a Satanist. Because we are not going to win if you're too afraid to call these things what they are, which is satanic.
Thank you, Candace Owens. You just gave us a new idea for an episode. Satanic rituals versus NASA exposed. So, real talk. Moon landing. Real or not? Leave a like if you like the video. Hit subscribe. Leave a comment below on the moon landing. And you know what? Until next time. Thanks for watching Samacabra.